What's the most wholesome experience you've had with a stranger?
Story 1. I was traveling from the south of England to the north of Scotland to start a new job the next morning. I had taken a train up to London and was supposed to get on an early morning flight from Heathrow. The bus to the airport, however, was cancelled and I had to make my own way using a series of night buses. However, it was about 2:30 a.m. and my phone was dead. And I had never used London's night buses before. I was young and a little scared, standing in the middle of Victoria trying to figure out the fated bus schedule, when a woman came up to me and asked, "Are you all right, love?" And I explained through tears that I thought I was going to miss my flight and didn't even have an Oyster card. She looked up my route on her phone, wrote down all the possible variations of buses and trains that I would need to take, including the times. She waited with me the entire time, like 20 minutes. Then when the bus came up, she paid for my fare, no cash on London buses. I got out and looked to her and she shrugged and said, "Oh, I'm not getting the bus. You just look like you needed someone." I think about her every once in a while, and I'm incredibly grateful for her.
Story 2. I was in an abusive relationship and it ended with him beating me up very badly. Broken ribs, bruises, and cuts all over me. He was arrested, but the process and aftermath was hell. It was spring and the weather was warming, but for weeks I wore long sleeves and high collars to hide the cuts and bruises. Eventually everything healed and faded except one very deep bruise on my upper arm. I had had enough of hiding them in shame, so one day I said fuck it and wore short sleeves. I was standing in line in Walmart and noticed this rough biker-looking dude staring at me. I thought he was checking me out or whatever. Then he asked me how I got that bruise on my arm. I stumbled answering and he outright asked, "Did somebody hurt you?" For some reason I decided to be honest and not lie in shame, so I said out loud, "Yes, somebody hurt me." He looked at me and in the kindest voice said, "You did not deserve that. Whoever it was will get what's due to them one day." For some reason, that was a turning point for me. I knew then that I was going to be okay. I knew that no matter how things turned out legally, that I was going to be okay. I never saw that man again, but I honestly think he was an angel sent to give me a message.
Story 3. I had a knock on my door and when I opened it, there was a stranger with a gift card to a local garden store for me. Apparently her kid had been pinching tulips from my garden every day to give to his mom and they wanted to pay for them, once they figured out whose garden they were coming from. I had thought squirrels were doing it and had regretted planting them the year before, not being able to enjoy them. I spent the gift card on more bulbs.
Story 4. I moved 1,000 miles away from everything I knew after graduating college 16 years ago. Back then I was pretty homesick, struggling in my career and figuring things out, so I felt pretty lost in life. One day I was walking around downtown Orlando when an older man, probably in his mid-80s, stopped me. He handed a piece of paper that he was carrying to me and said, "You seem like a good person with a good heart. It will be all right." Then he just walked away. Looking down, that piece of paper was a copy of a handwritten page by him filled with dozens and dozens of sayings, illustrations and quotes from all over the world regarding love and hope. Tears came immediately and I put it away to read later that day. It stayed on my wall in my home for the better part of 10 years until I moved again. Now it's been 16 years since then and sure he's moved on to the next world by now. I still have that page, take it out occasionally and think about that wonderful man from many years ago who taught me about pure and genuine random acts of kindness right along with love and hope. He was an absolute blessing to me and to our world. Thank you, good sir. You were a beautiful soul.